Over to you, Sue.
Thank you so very much, Graham. It is a pleasure to be your Toastmaster again for today. I'm just going to spotlight myself. Is that what I need to do, Graham, or can you do that for me? Terrific. Thank you. So welcome to one of the many pathway sessions we have had in the district. We have these monthly pathway sessions run by the Pathways team, and it's such a supportive team that are on board helping all of you to understand the Pathways program and helping to develop skill sets within our district. So it's wonderful to welcome you on board again. We have three speakers today. Our first speaker is Michael Clancy, and he's speaking on deep dives on electives. Our second speaker is Emma Hiscock, and she's talking about the new digital speechcraft program that's on offer for everyone. So the in-person speechcraft is still available, but this digital one is something that's well worth looking into because it aligns better with Pathways, and it will in future as well. And the third speaker is Christina Barbonio, the lead of our education session, our Pathways coordinator who coordinates all of us into helping support the district. So Christina will be speaking about achievement and awards. So let's lead off. But before I do, there's a couple of things I'd like to mention. On the 5th of June, please look out for our next Pathways session, and on the 10th of July. So the 5th of June and the 10th of July, they're going to be hosted by this team, but we're always looking for people to be on board and support the district. So if you're interested in being part of the Pathways team, please put your hand up and let us know, particularly Christina, let her know, and we'd welcome you on board. So without any more fluff from me, I would love to welcome our first presenter. Now, our first presenter is Michael Clancy, and Michael is a self-made Pathways convert, knowing that unless he undertook his own investigation and research, he would have resisted the change to the new online educational program. While all things are not perfect, he understands the need to embrace the program, and to do that, he needs to understand it. So Michael has been able to give back to the people who have helped him on this journey at both club and district level. And he's filled every role in his clubs for the district. He has been an area director, the newsletter editor, and the education and training coordinator for Victoria. Roles that have allowed him to meet the best thing about Toastmasters in District 73, the members. So I'd love to welcome Mr. Michael Clancy DTM for his deep dives into electives. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Sue. And first thing I always do is share my screen. And there I am down below. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller and put myself up at the top because I like to be on top of things. Welcome to Pathways Electives. This is where we're going to go through all the electives that are in Pathways. Our objectives today are to look at the electives. We're going to start with level 3 electives where you have 12 to 14 to choose from, depending on which path you're on, and you must complete at least 2 in every path. In level 4, you have 7 to 8, again, depending on which path you are in. You must complete at least 1. And finally, level 5, where there are 5 or 6 large projects, again, you must complete at least 1. So at some stage, you're going to do 4 of these electives as part of your path. So I hope to be able to enlighten you. So let's look at the level 3 elective projects. As I said, there are 14, but active listening is done in 3 parts at level 2, so it's not an elective. Connect your audience is done in 2 parts at level 2, so it's not necessarily an elective. Again, effective body language, engage your audience with humor, making connections through networking. Those electives are mandatory in the paths that are listed there. But all the other electives are available to you. So you have a wide choice. So I'm going to go through these alphabetically because I know Toastmasters like order. So active listening. This is one of the easiest projects to do. The purpose of this project is to demonstrate your ability to listen to what others say. And the requirement is to simply serve as your table topics master. And your segue between one table topic to the next is used to promote listening of what the person says and building upon that for the next person. This still needs to be evaluated, and that's one of the things that often gets missed. So if you are doing this, please ask your VPE to organize an evaluator for you. The next one is connecting with storytelling. The purpose of this project is to practice using a story within a speech. And we use stories in a lot of speeches. So this is a great project if you're into storytelling or giving fables or something like that. It's open-ended. You can talk about anything. And that's one of the great things about some of these projects. You can talk about anything. It only requires you to do a 5 to 7 minute speech. Connecting with the audience is about using your skills to connect on an unfamiliar topic to your audience. Now, this is very much like your research and presenting project you did in level 1, where you had to go research something. This is presenting something that is unfamiliar to your audience. So you've already done your research to understand it, and now you're delivering that in a 5 to 7 minute speech to engage your audience. A very simple one there. Creating effective visual aids. There could be visual aids such as this presentation I'm doing, or it could be visual aids using something else. You could talk to my friend the monkey, or you can present with other visual aids. So again, this opens up a wide range of speeches that you can do. One of the criticisms that I used to have about Toastmasters, especially Pathways in level 1 and 2, is it seems very restrictive. But level 3 opens that up to wide range of things. You just have to create 1 to 3 visual aids and deliver a 5 to 7 minute speech using those visual aids. Delivering social speeches, this is a little bit more difficult because this is something you've got to do over 2 meetings. The purpose of this project is to practice delivering social speeches in front of your club members. And they even give you a list of various things, which I'll show you in a sec. But there are 2 3 to 4 minute speeches that you can give in this. If you look at the social speeches basics resource, there are a whole lot of different things that you can do. It can be a toast, it can be an acceptance speech, it can be speeches in praise of a group. So any situation where you're in a social atmosphere and you're called on to give a speech for 3 to 4 minutes, you have to do 2 of these. And you can't do them in the same same meeting. You've got to do it over 2 different meetings. So use that resource to help drive what you're going to talk about. Then there's effective body language. This is delivering a speech, being aware of how you use your body. It's not great on Zoom, but it can be better in person. And a lot of us are going back to in-person meetings. Again, it is a 5 to 7 minute speech, but you must have practiced it first with your mentor or at least looked at yourself in the mirror. Engaging your audience with humor. This is about determining your style of humor and applying it in a speech that centers around a central message. So you only are delivering a simple message, but you're using humor to deliver it. Again, it's just a 5 to 7 minute speech. There's nothing really heavy in this project. Focusing on the positive. Now, this is one of the more difficult ones. This is a project to practice about being aware about your thoughts and feelings and how you impact others through your responses. You need to record your daily moods and attitudes for a minimum of 2 weeks, but you don't have to share what your observations are. You can present a 2 to 3 minute report about that, or a 5 to 7 minute speech. I would be going for the 5 to 7 minute speech because that allows you to articulate more what you or how you interpreted your feelings and how you interpreted your situations and your responses. With this one, you must complete a project completion form. One of the 4 values of Toastmasters is integrity. This is where the integrity comes in. You are just saying, I have done this. You don't have to show your form, your recordings to anyone else. You just have to say, I've done this. I am being honest. And there it is. Give it to your VPE and they can complete your project once you've delivered it. Inspiring your audience. This is an inspiring speech. It's writing and delivering that speech so you inspire others. And don't we all need that around competition time? So this is a great one if you're in competition, a 5 to 7 minute speech is all you need for this one. Making connections through networking. Now, this is a little bit different again. The purpose of this project is to develop and practice a personal strategy for building connections. You do give a 5 to 7 minute speech at your club, again, about how you used your strategy to build connections. It's not about what your strategy is, it's how you used it. There are resources for this. And one of the great things about this, you get to go to an event where you get to network and obviously eat all the canopies or whatever they are called. Again, there are resources. You can do a prepare to network resource, which is a great thing to do regardless, because how many times have we thought, oh, I wish I'd said that after some other thing has occurred. So some interaction with a person, you've forgotten what you're going to say. So get your elevator pitch in writing so you know what you want to say. What are your objectives? Who are your contacts? What skills or knowledge do you value? And how do you manage your success? How did you feel you're going to succeed before and after? So there's a lot in the preparing to network resource. And again, using that integrity, you don't have to worry about this if your networking is a Toastmasters event, but if it's outside of Toastmasters, you must complete the project completion form. Give that to your VPE when they sign off your speech. Preparing for an interview. This is one of the great ones if you're in the job market or if you ever need to sell yourself. The purpose of this project is to practice the skills needed to present yourself well. Quite often it's in an interview situation, but it doesn't have to be. It can be in a performance review. How do you present yourself? So there are resources that you can use. identifying your skills. There is an interview instructions resource that you use in your role play, and it requires a 5 to 7 minute role play at your club. So when identifying your skills, there's a whole lot of different areas that you can fill in on this worksheet. And for that person or panel of people that are going to interview you in your role play, there is instructions on what they're trying to achieve. So print several of those off when you do the role play in your club. Understanding vocal variety. This is another thing that we do all the time. Using vocal variety, we put it in our evaluations all the time. You need to use more vocal variety, different speed, different pitch, different vocal volume, all those things. Again, this is just a 5 to 7 minute speech that shows that you are using vocal variety. Using descriptive language. This is another great project that we do all the time. This project is to practice writing a speech with emphasis on adding language to increase interest and impact. So it's about using word pictures to capture your audience. You could see how several of these projects, and you need to do 2 per path, can be used when you're doing your speech contests, because several of these impact directly on how you are doing your speech contests, you know, what you're trying to achieve. So again, this only requires a 5 to 7 minute speech. Using presentation software. I must do this one because I've never used presentation software in my life, except for now and all the other times. So it's developing some slides and reviewing strategies, techniques used to create those slides to enhance your speech, and then delivering it in a 5 to 7 minute speech. So that's all the level 3 electives. A lot of them are just speeches. 2 or 3 of them are more than speeches. Let's look at level 4. Again, there are 3 paths where you do not need to do, or you do not have a choice of all of them. Managing projects successfully is not available in your innovative planning because you're doing that as your mandatory project. Managing a difficult audience is not available in presentation mastery because you're doing that as your mandatory project. And public relations strategy in strategic relations is also a mandatory project, but you still have 7 other choices. The first of which is building a social media presence. Now, organize this. If you're going to do it for your club, organize it with your vice president of public relations. The purpose of this project is to apply your understanding of social media and enhance an established or new social media presence. So if you want to move your club onto TikTok, this might be a way of doing it. If you want to improve your existing Facebook page, this is a project that may encourage you to do that. The tools used in this, again, is just the project completion form. This is saying, I've done this. Now, if you've actually done it for the club will be aware of the completion of the project. But if you've done it for your own personal media presence, you need to complete this for your VPE. Creating a podcast. This project is to introduce you to the skills needed to organize and present a podcast. You need to record 60 minutes of content. And you can do that in any different way you choose. But you must spend 10 minutes per episode at least, or you may just do one 60-minute episode. After you record your content, you need to play 5 to 10 minutes of that in your club and introduce it with a 2 to 3 minute speech. So this then becomes a 7 to 13 minute project in which you record 60 minutes of podcast content, present 5 to 10 minutes to your club with a 2 to 3 minute introduction. Managing online meetings. This is not so much about Toastmasters meetings, but something more along an executive club meeting or some sort of meeting where you have an agenda, action items, and noted items, that sort of thing. So you've got to conduct a 20 to 25 minute online meeting with fellow Toastmasters, if you like, or a webinar with visual aids. Again, you are given some resources for this. There are two main resources, the online meeting agenda resource and the online meeting basics resource. The agenda is about how you set out the agenda. It's got the action items and agenda items. It's got tasks that you need people to do. The meeting basics is about how you set up for that meeting, what you do during the meeting, and what happens after the meeting. Because what's the point of having minutes if you don't send them out? Manage projects successfully is a small project, but it is the hardest of the level 4s to complete from personal experience. The purpose of this project is to practice developing a plan, building a team, and fulfilling the plan with the help of your team. You need 3 to 4 people to help you do this. You need to create a project and present the plan that you're going to attempt to achieve in a 2 to 3 minute speech. Then you work to complete that project and you present a speech about your experience. Now, one of the things that you may wish to do is consider, what are you going to be doing in level 5? Because there are certain projects in level 5 that doing a small project may end up being part of that larger project, or it may lead into how you complete that larger project. So in this one, the requirements: building a team, creating the plan, doing a 3-minute speech, completing the plan, and a 5 to 7 minute speech about your experience. So let's look at the resources you have here. You have a project plan resource, and this is about what your plan is. What's the purpose? What are resources? What are the deliverables? Milestones, keynote. And then you've got individual tasks and delegated tasks that you can assign different members. That all makes part of your plan. Managing a difficult audience is one of the fun things that we do, but I often see it done badly. The purpose of this project is to practice skills needed to address audience challenges when you present outside your Toastmasters club. How do you deal with hecklers? How do you deal with those really difficult questions? You present a 5 to 7 minute speech on any topic, and you get people to role play. Now, what I've seen people do is just say, anyone, everybody jump in. People are only supposed to jump in once, and they tend to forget that. And then it just becomes a roaring laughter episode. The process of speaking and responding to audiences is supposed to take up to 15 minutes. So that's 8 minutes of replies for your 7 minutes of speaking. Public relations strategies. This is another one that you can use in your club. The purpose of this project is to practice the skills needed to effectively use public relations strategies for any group or situation. You create a public relations plan for a real or hypothetical situation. Share that plan in a 5 to 7 minute speech. So you're just sharing the plan, you're not role playing anything here. And you have create a public relations strategy and the speech as your goals. The next one is something we're going to do today, a question and answer session. The purpose of this project is to learn about facilitating a question and answer session. And it's a 15 to 20 minute session where you invite audience questions and you have a panel that answers them. Something I think Carl is looking forward to. Write a compelling blog. Now, I had fun with this one because I went traveling a couple of years ago and I wrote a blog, which I put on Facebook. And I was able to use that for responding to this. So the purpose of this project is to review or introduce skills needed to write and maintain a blog. Now, all you need to do is post 8 posts in 1 month. That's 2 a week. It's not hard. I was doing it every 3 or 4 days, which is 2 a week. Actually, I did it more often than that. But your blog may be a new one or one you've already established. And you deliver a 2 to 3 minute speech at the club meeting about the impact of your blog experience. Again, this has the integrity part where you have to sign a form, and there is a blog evaluation form as well. So your evaluator must have access to your blog. What did they like? How would you help the member improve? Project completion form is just to, again, pursue our integrity requirements. Level 5. I'm on green and that's worrying me because this is the hard one. There are 6 level 5 projects, but 5 paths give you only 4 of those because you're already doing that one of the options as your mandatory project. You can't do a mandatory project and elective that are the same. We'll start with ethical leadership. The purpose of this project is to develop a clear understanding of your own ethical framework and create an opportunity for others to hear about it and discuss your ethics in your organization or community. You should also, if you are reviewing a moderator panel discussion, which is another level 5 elective, is a way of helping do that. You can do more than one elective at any level. You don't have to just do one and say, I've done level 5. You can do 3, 4, 5 if you're a sucker for punishment. So in this, you have an ethical framework resource, which you get to define your issues, the facts, how you respond, what your options are, all those various things that may influence your ethical framework. How do you deal with someone who doesn't do things the way you think reflects the Toastmasters promise? Many of us have done high performance leadership projects in the past education program. There are 3 paths that this forms mandatory, but you can still do it in every path. And this is one of the large things. This is to apply all of your leadership and planning knowledge to develop a project plan with the guidance committee helping you, implementing your plan with the help of a team. There is a lot in this. What do we have to deliver? Well, first of all, we've got to form our guidance committee. We've got instruction list for the guidance committee. We have agendas, project plan overviews, vision plan, our event planning worksheet, a 360-degree resource, and a before and after speech. So there is a lot in this. The guidance committee introduction resource is telling your guidance committee what is expected of them. And then you've got to meet with them at least 5 times. So you have meeting agendas to help you plan how you're going to get that guidance committee to guide you. What do you need to know? What do they need to know? All those things should be put in your meeting agenda. You have to come up with a vision. And a vision implies that you have goals that you want to achieve. So this also helps you record your goals. Another resource is your project plan overview, which highlights what's the purpose, what are the resources, who are the team members, what are the deliverables, what are the milestones. And then your actual project plan is the detail. Who's doing what, and how do I contact them? What's their deadline? When are they doing it? All things that are important in a large project. For example, if you were running your club's contests, who's going to be contest chair? Who's going to be chief judge? Who are your timers? All those sorts of things need to be planned out. Contests don't just happen by themselves. Catering, organizing the venue, things like that. This covers all of that. Your event planning worksheet is when are things going to happen? So have you rented the space? Have you paid, got budget? Who needs help with transport? What about refreshments? How are we going to set up the tables? What about the stage? Various things there. There is a lot in running an event. And if your high performance leadership project is an event, this is a valuable resource. And after you've done it, you get to evaluate, and your impacted people, so your guidance committee, those who actually helped you achieve this, all those people get to evaluate you on how you ran this project. Was your leadership, communication, interpersonal skills, problem solving, prioritization skills, and more? There's a lot in a 360-degree evaluation. You don't need to show this to anyone. This is about you reviewing that for your own purposes. Leading in your volunteer organization. I'm going to go over time, so let's move on here. Again, this is about using your skills to lead others. And if you're doing something like area director or club executive role, this is a great one to use with that. Serving as a volunteer in your leadership role for a minimum of 6 months, doing a 360-degree evaluation, a succession plan, and a 5 to 7 minute speech about your experience. Very important. So the resource succession plan is about who's going to replace you in your next, when you move out of this role. And it can be a simple one person or can be several. Your 360-degree evaluation is the same as the high performance leadership one, so I won't need to go through that again. Lessons learned. I think this is our last one. So this is about reflecting after you've done a large project about what you learned about that. it's about, if you were to do another project, what mistakes would you avoid? What successes would you continue to chase? Again, a 360-degree evaluation, because that would be your starting point. How did people review you? Then you've got some metrics. What was your metric that you're trying to measure? What was the purpose? What was the result? And how did you go? And then you have experiences. What were the lessons learned? And what are the recommendations for next time? Moderating and panel discussion. I did have one more. This is what we'll be doing later, which is a 20 to 40-minute panel discussion about anything. It's very much like a question and answer, but this is a bit longer. Panelist basics about who's doing what, how to interact with your panelists, how your panelists interact with you. Again, a project completion form for our integrity purposes. And the one everybody loves, prepare to speak professionally. This is a 22-minute speech for all people who really like talking. And there is a speech outline provided for you. You can also use this for your engaging humor. That's me. I'm done. I'm read. I've gone longer than I expected, but I'll hand back to Sue and we'll leave questions for a bit later. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Michael. Wow, what an incredible session. All right.